This is Jeff, one of the founders of Planning Pod, and we're going to take a look at our budget tool and how you can use all of the features inside of that tool. The budget tool is located inside of the event, so we're going to click on the Events tab in the main navigation bar. And to get to the budget inside of one of the events, you can simply click on the event. However, I'm going to add a new event because I'm going to show you where you can add the overall target budget for an event right in the main form when you're creating a new event. So we're going to start off by giving this event a name and a start date and a start and end time. And after I add my start time and end time, in the field below, I'm going to add my target budget here in a second. And you can add a target budget here. You can also do this inside of the main budget tool for this event if you do not add it here. But I'm just going to add my target budget amount right here. And then finally, I'm going to assign some contacts to this event. And I'm just going to pick my contacts out here. And then I'm going to add a few vendors to this event also. And once I'm done with this, I'm just going to click on the Save button. And here's my new event. We're going to plan a fundraiser event. And if you go down to the budget link right here, this link will take you to the budget tool inside of the event. So I'm going to click on that now. And here is that target budget we entered. You can always edit this by clicking on the edit button and editing your target budget. And I would recommend that this is the first thing you do when you start creating a budget. And the reason for this is if you create budget line items that are a percentage of the target budget, it will pull accurate numbers. Here at the top are all of the action buttons. First, you can click on that button to add a budget line item. You can click here to create a new budget category. If you click on the More button, you can save this existing budget as a template, as well as import a budget template into this particular event, which I'll show you how to do in a little bit. You can also create a PDF or download a CSV file of this budget. And under the View options here, you can view all the expense line items. You can also view the income line items, and you can create and view the attendee groups that have to do with budget line items that involve headcount. And I will show you how to add those in a moment also. So to get started, I'm going to add a few budget categories first. So I'm going to click on that button, and then I'm going to type in the name of my budget category right here. Then I'm going to click on Save. And now you can see that new category with all of its subtotals are there. I'm going to create another category. We're going to call this Revenues, since this is of course a fundraiser and I want to be able to forecast some of my income for this particular event. Now I'm going to create a few attendee groups because I want to create some budget line items that are based on headcounts. So for my first group, these are just going to be my general admission attendees. These are people who are attending my fundraiser who are just going to probably buy tickets. And I'm going to say, boy, it'd be great to have 630 people show up. Right now my actual count is 172, and I can always come back in and edit these when things change. And I'm also going to create an attendee group of VIPs. And let's say my estimated account would be 30, and I have 12 that have already committed. And like I said, you can always go back in and edit or delete these items. I'm going to click on the Edit button right there. And I'm going to update my actual head count to 190. And here are my attendee groups, and you can create an unlimited number of these groups. Now let's create our first budget line item by clicking on the red button. I'm going to type in the name of the item. We're going to say these are table and chair rentals. I'm going to select my category. I'm going to put it under the rentals category. Over here, I can select whether this is an expense or an income line item. This is an expense item. And then here, I can create my estimated amount. So I can base it on headcount. I can select one of my headcounts and then put in a per unit cost. I can add a fixed amount, or I can add a percentage of the target budget. So let's just say I'm going to, for my estimate for this particular line item, I'm going to say my tables and chairs should be 3.2% of my overall budget. And let's say I negotiated this down a little bit with my vendor. So under negotiated amount, I'm going to put a fixed amount of $2,000. And you can see on the right-hand side, there will be running subtotals for each of these items. And let's say my actual amount ended up being $2,100. And I just enter that right there. I can also attach one or more vendors to a budget line item. I'm going to attach my rentals vendor, and I can also associate a line item with a manager. I'm going to say Thomas, one of my coworkers, will be in charge of this line item. And then in the notes area is where you can add notes that are relevant to this budget line item. I'm just going to put in a quick note here for number of tables that we may be needing for this event. And once I'm done entering all this information in, I'm going to go down and click on the Save button. And here's my new budget line item under Rentals. And you can see I've got totals for the estimated, negotiated, actual, and amount due. There's nothing that's been paid on this yet, so that'll show up 0. And you can also see that my category shows the subtotal also. And I can view the details by clicking on the Actions link and then clicking on View Details, which will show me the calculations, the notes, the vendors I've assigned to this, the line item managers, as well as if I want to add payments or payment due dates and reminders, and I will show you how to do that in a little bit. And I'm going to close the details for this line item by clicking on Close Details, and I'm now going to create a new budget line item. I'm going to create another one. We're going to call this ticket sales for our fundraiser, and this is going to be an income line item that I'm going to put under the revenues category. I'm going to base this on headcount. So let's just say that for our general admission attendees, I'm looking at charging $35 per ticket. And this is how you can use headcounts for things like not only revenues, but say you've got headcount for a plated dinner. You could put those headcount amounts in here also and have a per person cost that will be totaled up for each of those areas. And once I'm done, I'm going to click on the Save button. And now here's my revenues category, which of course has nothing in it in the expenses area, but if I click on income, here is that income line item that I've just created, as well as all of the details right here, and all of the totals that will show up over here in tabular form. Now you can certainly go through and create a budget by creating individual line items. However, many people want to create a budget template that you can simply import into your events over and over again. And you can create those templates in the templates area. So we're going to click on the templates tab in the main navigation bar. And then we are going to click on the budgets link. And since we are in a new account here, there are no budget templates yet set up in my account. So let's set one up by clicking on Add Template. So I'm going to give my new budget template a name. I'm just going to call this the Gala Budget Template for all my grand gala events. Click on Save. Here is that template. And now I'm going to click on Edit Template Items so I can start adding both budget categories and line items to this template. First, I'm going to create some categories. So my first category here will be my food and beverage category. I'll save that. And there it is. I'm going to add another category. This will be our entertainment and speakers category. And then finally, I'm going to add a category for my venue costs and all related costs for my venue. And so now that I've created those categories, you can always go back and rename those categories if you want by clicking on the rename button if you need to edit them. And if you click on the more button, you can choose to move categories up or down, as well as you can delete a category here also. Now let's start adding some line items to this budget template. We'll put our first line item here will be a plated dinner line item. We'll assign this to the food and beverage category. The type of item is an expense item, not an income item. And then you can insert this item into a budget using the percentage of the target budget or a fixed amount. I'm going to say this is 23% of my overall budget. And here's that new templated line item there. And so when this particular line item pulls into my event, it will automatically tabulate to 21% of the budget line item. And of course, I can move this line item up and down inside of the category. I'm going to add another budget line item here to the food and beverage. This will be my open bar line item, and I'm going to make this a fixed amount. And I'm just going to say this is $8,000. And here are the two items I just added. And again, I can use this item or this icon right there to drag and drop the order of my line items inside of the category. And I'm going to add a few more line items here. For this, I'm going to add a dinner music under my entertainment and speakers category. And I'm going to say this is a percentage of my target budget. And this will be 6% of my target budget. We'll add another item under that category. It will be my keynote speaker for my fundraiser event. And we'll say we're going to budget for 3%. And so here are those items inside of the template. And we're going to add some line items under the venue costs category. We'll first of all create a line item for venue space rental. And we'll make this 16% of our overall budget, 16.5%. And then finally, we're just going to add the audio visual cost. And you can add unlimited line items underneath each category. You can also add line items that are not in a category. And all categories and line items will import into your budgets once you've created them here inside of the template. So now that we've created a budget template, let's import that into our event budget that we've been working on. So we're going to click on the Events tab. We're going to click on our event, and then we're going to click on the budget link for our event. And now we're going to go to the More button. We're going to select Import Budget Template. We're going to select that template we were working on, the Gala Budget Template. Then I'm going to click on Save. And down here, it will add them towards the bottom of the budget we've been working on, but here are all of those line items inside of the categories that we created inside of the template. And as you can see, for the items that we stated had a percentage of the target budget, our system automatically did the calculation for the estimate for those items. And it will also keep a running subtotal for the entire budget and all the expenses right here at the top. And once you've imported those items in, you can simply go to one of those newly imported items and click on the edit link if you want to make some edits to it. So let's say I don't want this to be a percentage of my overall budget. I want to base my plated dinner on head count. So I'm going to select my attendee group, and then I'm going to add a per person cost of $19 per person. And then under negotiated amount, let's say I talked my vendor down or negotiated with my vendor to $17.50 per person. And then finally, under actual, let's say this ended up being exactly $17.50. So it will show my running totals on the right hand side. I'm going to attach a vendor to this line item as well as associate a line item manager, and then I'm going to click on save. And now I'll scroll down to my plated dinner, and here are all the details for that item right here, including the subtotals as well as the details. Now let's say I want to attribute a payment to this particular line item. I can either click on the Actions button and go down to Add Payment and select that, or if I'm in the details screen already right here, I can just go over to the Payments area and click on Add Payment, which I'm going to do right now. So first I'm going to click on the calendar icon and select my payment date. I will add my payment amount right here. And then I'm going to include a reference. In many cases, this could be like a check number or an order number. And then once I hit save, that payment will be attributed to this particular line item. So you can see in the summary area, here's the payment. And also in the line, it will show that the amount is $1,000, and that is always attributed to the actual amount. So the paid amount will be subtracted from the actual to give you your amount due. And you can always go in and edit that item if you need to make edits to it by clicking on the edit button and then making those edits in the form and then clicking on save. Now you can also add scheduled payment due dates and reminders inside of each line item. And again, you can click on the Actions button under the line item and select Scheduled Payment Due Date. Or if you're in the details area for the line item, you can just simply go down here under Payment Due Dates and Reminders and click on the Schedule Due Date button. Now I'm going to give this payment due date reminder a title or a name. So we're going to call this First Installment. Then you can assign contacts responsible for payment, and this could either be people who are actually making the payment or other people who need to be reminded of the payment also. I'm going to put in the amount due, the date that this payment is due. I can select the vendor to be paid. I'm going to select my lodging vendor, and then I can also choose to remind the contacts assigned of this, and this is a reminder that will be sent to them ahead of time. So note that the reminder is something that you can send out far in advance of the due date. However, on the day that the payment is due, the contacts assigned to this will also receive a notification at 8 a.m. that day. And then I'm going to add a quick note here for this particular payment due date reminder. And once I click on save, that has now been created, and I can view it right here in the details area. And as you can see, it shows not paid at this time, and you can always go down and edit this reminder if you need to. You can mark it as paid, which actually turns it into a payment, or you can delete it. So I'm going to create another payment due date and reminder. So I'm going to call this the second installment. I'm going to assign it to Rebecca. She's the one going to be paying this. I'm going to say the amount due is $2,500. The due date will be in March. We'll say March the 3rd. And so Rebecca will be getting a notification at 8 a.m. on March the 3rd. And I'm also going to set a reminder for March the 1st that will just ping her to say, hey, you've got an upcoming payment due on the 3rd of March. And I can send out both a text or an email reminder. And here is my second installment reminder that I just created inside of that line item. Now you can also view these reminders inside of the dashboard. So I'm going to click on the dashboard tool, and I'm going to click view options for 30 days out. And since this payment was, I just created it for Rebecca, I'm going to click on all items so that I can see all of the items that exist inside of my master account. And once I do that, here under budget payments due, I can see those that first and second installment payments that I just created inside of that budget are shown right there. and it tells me what the item is, what it's assigned for, the event, and who's paying it. Then I can just simply click on the budget link, which will take me to the budget for that event. And then I can simply find that line item. Click on Actions, click on View Details, and here are those two reminders right there. Now let's say, hey, someone just paid this first installment, so we're going to click on Mark as Paid, and then you can edit the fields here. So we're going to say this was actually paid on the 10th of February for $2,000. I'm going to put in a check number in the reference field, click on Save, and once I click on Save, that will convert that reminder into an actual payment, which we can see right here with all that information brought along. It will also show up in the line item right here. And as you can see, the amounts paid right now exceed the actual. So we're going to come up with a surplus in the due column. And here you can see that payment due date and reminder has been marked as paid. And now I want to show you how you can much more easily navigate around the budget section. Inside of the overview area, you can close the details, you can edit, or you can delete the item. And under Actions, you can choose to edit the line item. You can view the details. You can choose Move to Top or Move to Bottom of Category to move line items inside of the category. You can also click on this icon right here that has 3 lines and drag and drop those line items inside of the category. You can also add a payment or schedule a payment due date in the Actions navigation bar, or you can delete the line item. Similarly, each category has its own Actions drop-down, which will let you rename the category. You can also move the category up or down, which I did right there. And you can also move the category to the top of the page or the bottom. So I just moved the rentals category all the way to the bottom of the page. And that's how you can rearrange both your categories and your line items. And finally, if you need to delete your category, you can just click on the Actions button and then click on the delete link. The checkboxes at the top and next to each item let you do things in bulk. So for instance, let me check on a few items and I can move those 3 items to a category, or I can remove them from a category in bulk, so all at the same time. Or if I click on the More option, I can also attach vendors, assign line item managers, or delete those line items all at one time. So let's say I want to assign some line item managers to those 3 items. I'm going to click on my line item managers, and then I'm going to click on Save. And now I have changed the line item managers for those 3 items that I selected. And you can see in one of those line items, I just opened up the details screen and it shows them right there. 2 more things I'd like to cover. Under the More button, you can download a PDF, which I'm going to do right now. I'm going to download that to my desktop, and I'm just going to open up that PDF. And here it is all laid out for me already. And you can print out this. You can also email it to your team members or clients or whoever else needs to get a copy of it. And you can download a CSV file of the budget, which you can then pull into Excel. So I'm going to download the CSV, and then I'm just going to open that in Excel. And this gives you the ability to pull your budget that you've created in Planning Pod into a spreadsheet if you want to work in it in spreadsheet form on your own desktop. And one last thing, you can also save this budget inside of the event as a template. So if you've been working on a budget inside of an event and said, hey, it would be great to save this so I could use it later, you just click on the Save Budget as Template, give it a name. So I'm going to call this my fundraiser budget template. I'm going to click on Save, and once I've done that, this has been saved inside of my templates area. So I'm going to click on the Templates tab, and then I'm going to click on the Budget link, and then here is my fundraiser budget template right here. I'm going to click on Edit Template Items, and here are all of those categories and line items that I just had created my budget, and now it's a brand new template. And again, I can go into each one of these line items and edit them, and I can add more categories and whatnot and build this out inside of the template. Well, thanks for staying with me and watching this video on our budget tool. There's lots of features to learn, but if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us.